Hello, everybody. Welcome to AmateurCast, where we act like we know what we're talking about. Ah, yes. I am Sebastian Limon. I do YouTube videos, original short films on Abda Entertainment. And I am joined with two of my close friends. I have Kolby Lipiz.
Hello, that's me.
And I have Alex Paepke.
Hi.
And we are starting our very first episode of a podcast that we've been meaning to do for a long time. And
Too long.
really long time. Way too long, yes. And we're going to see how it goes. Let's hope it goes well. We're very excited. And Kolby, let us know what we will be doing, hopefully, for the next couple of, I don't know.
Times. So the idea behind this podcast is all three of us are film students and we just wanted a vehicle to talk about movies we like. And so what we wanted to do was every week, or I guess every episode, we're going to have a certain category or topic, and all three of us will pick our favorite film that we want to discuss that would fall under this category or topic, and then we can discuss them. So we might do Tarantino movies, or Hitchcock movies, or Pixar movies, or whatever.
Horror movies, anything.
Yeah, and every episode there will be 3 movies on the discussion table for us to talk about, and maybe we can share opinions and debate, and it's going to be fun times.
Kill each other.
Yeah, we can, kill each other,
Argue.
fight to the death, argue. Hate each
Lose our
other's guts.
friendships.
And friendships, yeah.
3 episodes into this podcast, we have to end it because we just can't get along well enough.
Exactly.
It's not.
So this episode, we just wanted to do some introduction stuff to for the viewers to get to know us. So this week we wanted to talk about our all-time favorite stuff, our favorite all-time movies, our favorite directors, things like that. That's our category for this week. And if we're ready to open up that discussion, I can start.
Yes. Go ahead, Kolby. You go.
My favorite all-time movie is Terry Gilliam and Terry Jones's 1975 Monty Python and the Holy Grail. This movie is it's made by Monty Python, the British comedy troupe featuring John Cleese and Eric Idle and those guys, and Graham Chapman, rest in peace. And
Rip.
Rip.
And it is a spoof comedy parody send-up of the King Arthur legend. And it is the originator of such famous quotes as "'Tis but a scratch," and "What is your favorite color? Green. Oh no, I'm dying," and stuff like
Classics.
that. I first watched this movie when I was in 6th grade because one of my friends just said, "Hey, have you ever heard of this movie Monty Python and the Holy Grail?" I was like, "No, I've never heard of this." And he was like, "I just think it's up your alley. It just seems like the kind of movie you would like." And so he came over and he spent the night and we watched it. And I went into it so blind. I thought it was I think I got it mixed up with Monk. I was a little kid. I was in 6th grade. I think I got it mixed up with the show Monk. Yeah. So I thought it was a detective show. I thought it was a detective movie. And then he turns it on and it's castles and knights. And I was like, what is this?
What is this?
But it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. I think it was the first real spoof I ever saw before I got into Mel Brooks or other Monty Python stuff. So it was just a new form of comedy for me, and I just fell in love with it. And since then, I think I've watched it at least 8 or 9 times.
That's awesome.
I love
Solid.
it. I could quote the whole movie. Whenever I watch it, I find myself every scene going, "This is the best scene," whenever I'm watching it with somebody.
Dude, me too.
Yeah, about halfway through they'll catch on and they'll go, "You've said that 12 times," and I'm like, well, every scene is the best scene. It's a good movie.
Or you're wait, pay attention. This is important.
Yeah, I do that every time. Not that anything in Monty Python is that important, because there's not much of a plot other than, hey,
it's
look
just
at
really
these
funny.
5 or 6 knights who are really dumb, all this crap they do.
And then the bunny. I love it.
Yeah. What are your guys' thoughts on Monty Python?
It's hilarious.
Yeah,
One of a kind.
the first time I saw it was when we watched. At some point, like a couple years ago, we decided to watch our favorite movies
That's
together at a friend's house, who shall not be named because
Copyright.
copyright reasons.
Wait, so was
And,
both of was your first time watching this movie when I showed it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first time
that
watching it.
makes me happy.
So, I mean, I had known what it was, and I had been meaning to see it because it was labeled as the funniest film ever made, and it's like, I gotta see that.
Labeled by
And
me.
it's honestly one of the funniest, if not the funniest film I have ever seen. It's like, it's. I also love
It's
how
a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It really is.
what also makes it funny is the fact that it had no budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's what makes
to
it funny.
me, like no budget things make things funnier. To me, I don't know, like when there's
The
like
horse.
clearly like no horses, or like at the bridge scene
The bridge scene is
when he's like,
spectacular.
"What is your favorite color?"
Uh-huh.
And then like you see them flying off, and they're clearly fake bodies. You know what I mean? Like it looks hilarious. I love it. The arms are like, it's hilarious. I love it.
And one of the reasons the bridge
Or
scene is
just,
like so like weird is because Graham Chapman, and this is kind of sad because he struggled with alcoholism, but he's King Arthur in this movie.
Oh.
He was like ragingly drunk when they filmed that scene,
Really?
and so
That's so funny.
That's amazing.
little rope bridge was over like an actual ravine, and they were so scared to let him go on that, like hammered, thinking he was gonna fall off and kill himself.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. But what I found out recently was that the movie was mostly funded by like rock bands that liked Monty Python's show, like Led Zeppelin.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Which is so random, but I thought that was fun.
Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, the movie was made for nothing, and they just incorporated
Robert
that lack of budget into the comedy, like having the steward like clean coconuts together instead of having him ride a horse.
Genius.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, things like that.
Fantastic.
There's just a lot of stuff in this movie that is so iconic, but it was literally just a practical thing because they couldn't get like real stuff because they didn't have the money, which I love about this movie. It's such like an underdog movie.
Also, we're probably going to be spoiling all three of these movies. Just letting you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Is that are we gonna spoil the movies?
Yeah, I don't
No?
know.
We'll give spoiler
I wanted to
warnings
talk
if
about
we
the
need
ending.
to.
Yeah.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail, especially though, doesn't have much spoilers. You could
I know. I was
give.
thinking mine isn't really. There's no like big spoilers.
It's not very plot heavy. I think none of our movies are very plot heavy today.
Sure, but I mean, like, the ending of Monty Python, I didn't even know that was a thing. So when it happened, I was like, wait, that was amazing.
Yeah, the ending of Monty Python is absolutely not what you expect if you haven't seen it before. It
No.
comes very abruptly, and it's a little bit
hilarious.
unsatisfying, but it's so funny. It's like one of the best jokes in the whole movie. I think it works. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, that's why I don't think it's very unsatisfying. I think it's actually very satisfying in terms of like the fact of what the movie was going for
Yeah.
and its tone, and especially with its budget, it
Yes.
makes sense.
Well, that's
that they're,
why
like-
that's why it ended that way. It was because they didn't have the budget to end it the way they wanted to, which was with like a huge battle scene.
I know we're being so vague, but
Yeah, if
it's best everybody
the
if
should
you
watch
haven't
the
seen
movie.
it, go watch it.
you'll see that
If you haven't seen the
it
movie, it's
ends
fantastic.
very abruptly and very sillily.
Silly.
Silly.
Sillily.
Soliloquy.
Soliloquy.
Strong.
And then enemy.
Alex, do you have thoughts on Monty Python?
I
Yeah.
mean, everything Seb said.
Everything
That's
Seb
pretty much
said.
how I feel. It's just very like silly and like
Yeah.
if you're looking for like
Pops, you remember when they were singing in the I had watched it
The
like
part where they
recently.
sing.
They were singing
In Camelot?
I think it's in Camelot, and then you see the guy in the dungeon like clapping.
Yes!
You remember?
That is like so
And he's
funny.
chained to the wall, and the music, that's such a great scene, like a bit too, because the music
such a
completely
cute
cuts
shot.
out, but it's like
Yeah, it just cuts
very,
out.
very quiet,
It's,
so
like,
you can
very
like
faint.
sort of hear
Yeah.
it like coming from upstairs, and you just,
And he's
see
just
him
clapping
clapping, like on beat. And he's literally like naked, chained to a wall with a beard that goes down to his
That's
feet.
so
and he's a big
great.
smile on his face. He's just happy to be participating in the
great.
music.
It was wonderful.
It's
it was
a
wonderful.
wonderful joke. I love that part. The whole Camelot sequence is so funny. It's like such a great subversion of
Oh,
what
yeah.
you expect.
Definitely.
Like most of the movie is. But the whole movie, they're building up, or at least until this point in the movie, they're building up to this journey to the great land of Camelot, and then they get there, and then there's just this dumb musical number. It totally subverts what you expect.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It's fantastic.
They're like dancing on tables and kicking the servants walking by in the head, and there's salads and things flying everywhere. It's so weird.
I need to
It's
watch it
wonderful.
again. I haven't seen it since we watched it.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Wow.
I think it's on Netflix, isn't it?
It is on Netflix now. Yeah, they added.
It
all
is?
I believe they added
Yeah.
every Monty Python movie. They might have not added The Meaning of Life, which is the worst one. But yeah, Monty Python and the Holy
I've
Grail
been meaning to
is on
see
Netflix,
Life of
and
Brian.
so is Life of Brian. Life of Brian's amazing. If you guys haven't seen it,
At least your
It's-
favorite movie's on Netflix.
I also want to talk about the rabbit scene.
the rabbit.
I love that scene so much. Just how fake it looks with the
Yeah.
string and everything. And then the squeaking, and when he bites the guy's head off, it's so awesome. It's like, it is the rabbit. And then he's like, I don't know, he goes to attack it, and then the bunny just it makes like the little squeak noise. And then you see the head fall off. He's, Jesus Christ. It's hilarious. I love it.
I can't explain why, but hearing the Monty Python guy scream "Jesus Christ" makes me cry laugh like nothing else in any movie. I will sob laughing at that because they just say it so funny. Like when they catapult like cows at them from the French castle, and
That's
Graham Chapman just
fantastic.
screams, "Oh Jesus Christ!" and they all run.
Christ.
That kills me.
It's like the accent.
But
Bring out your
another
dad.
fun factoid is that rabbit they like rented from I don't know who, somebody with a rabbit, and they used like red dye to get blood on its mouth, and they permanently dyed that rabbit's fur. And the
Really?
owner of the rabbit that they borrowed it from was super pissed off and like never work with them on movies again. At least I read that
Whoa.
I think on IMDb.
That's
That's
weird.
funny.
Yeah.
The poor bunny.
I feel like that itself sounds like a Monty Python skit. Like
It does. That's awesome. I love that. Okay, what else? There's I love. Trying to think. I love that scene where the Frenchman is trying to taunt them.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I will taunt you a second time.
your mother
Something like
was
that,
a
right?
hamster and your
Those are
father
perfect.
smelled of elderberries.
Yeah, I fart in your general direction, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, when they throw the cow, that's great. And
Yeah.
and
that's also a
that
great example of
probably my favorite visual gag in the whole movie probably is when the two guards they're guarding the castle. One of them's like chewing gum or something, and then you see one of the crew or like one of the knights far away running. You hear the music, and then it cuts back to the guards chewing gum. They're far away, back to the guard,
Cross-cutting.
and then he ends up being there like randomly.
and
Like
the
random.
editing on that
It's
bit
just,
is
like,
so
the next
great
cut.
because when they repeatedly
Yeah, that's
show
what makes it
him
funny.
running over the hill from like a mile away, they use the same shot over and over. So it's like he's running on a treadmill. Like he never comes more and more forward. So then when they abruptly cut to him suddenly being right there,
That's so
It's
funny.
the best.
it's like totally disorienting. Like you're like, what did I just watch? And it makes it so much more funny.
That's why it's funny though.
Yeah, totally.
No, it's hilarious.
It's such a great it's such a great example of like editing for comedy.
Oh yeah, and how like I don't know, just like how random humor can be, or
Yeah.
really, I don't know. It's just like the power of what makes comedy movies special.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like a lot of comedy movies these days, especially, do not rely on the filmmaking to make it funny.
Right.
It's all about the improv
Mm-hmm.
and the actors and what is said rather than the way
Yeah.
it's showed or the way it's
Yeah.
edited or filmed. Like, that's why I think Edgar Wright's the best comedy director, even though, like, he's doing other things now, which is awesome.
You said Edgar Wright?
The comedies that he made, yeah, Edgar Wright. His comedies are, like, probably the best of recent years.
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
of the editing style?
Because that, and just because there's just so much style there's so much style
Yeah.
to it. It's obviously funny of what they're saying, and it's a movie, you know what I mean? It's not like it's a recorded improv skit.
Right.
like
the
Judd
Judd
Apatow.
Apatow style.
Yeah, where it's like reverse shot stuff. It's so boring.
And
I hate those movies.
with Monty Python, like, it's made with no budget. It's made by amateurs, but it still has a lot more intention in the filmmaking techniques than most modern comedies. Like, they use the camera to enhance the jokes in a lot of points. When I believe it's Galahad. Yes, Galahad is, like, lost in the forest before he finds the brothel. He's, like, wandering through the woods, and it's like a stormy night, and there's lightning. They film it, and the shot doesn't match the style of the rest of the camera work in the movie at all. But they film it very up close, very shaky handheld, like, moving constantly. And so it looks like this super intense found footage, like, horror movie all of a sudden. And then it just cuts back to a stationary camera when he finds the brothel, and it's, like, shining from the heavens. It's a really funny cut.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
like,
right.
they use the camera to enhance this comedic image of, like, Galahad being through this, like, super intense storm, and he's lost in the forest, but he's, like, barely off the sidewalk. Like,
Yeah. No, yeah, I see what you mean, and it's pretty great, especially for its time.
yeah, for sure.
I know,
What,
especially for its time.
1975, right, or what?
Yeah, 1975.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an old movie. Wow.
Um,
Okay, do we have anything else to say about Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
one thing that I love about it is how all the actors are playing multiple parts. And, like, that's,
true.
again,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a budget thing, but you don't accept that in other movies. Like, if one actor is
really,
playing
you
two
wouldn't.
separate parts and they're separate characters and they're not supposed to look alike, like that, we don't accept that. But because this is like a spoof, it feels like a theater piece, because it's like,
I was just about to say it's really theatrical.
True.
yeah, it's like 6 or 7 guys playing the entire cast, including, like, old women, and there are scenes where multiple characters in the same room in the same scene will be played by the same actor, and that's some pretty clever camera work and editing.
Oh, that's awesome.
But there's also some cheating, like when they're in the cave before they find the monster. I think Eric Idle is supposed to be playing 2 characters, so one of them is just like some other extra who, like, has his face covered, like, because Eric Idle has been playing that character for the rest of the movie. Stuff like that. But then there's the scene where John Cleese plays both, like, Lancelot and Tim the Enchanter.
Mm-hmm.
John Cleese also plays the
Wonderful.
taunting Frenchman.
That's John Cleese also?
I believe so. Yeah. I just
awesome.
love that about Monty Python, and that applies to all of their movies and sketches. How they're always playing multiple characters, and the more you watch their stuff, the more you feel like you're getting to know these real people and, like, their different styles of comedy and performance. I love that.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And the more, like, you watch their stuff, the more you'll recognize them. So, like, the first time you watch Monty Python, somebody comes on with a big wig and makeup, and you're like, I don't know who this person is. But the 5th time you watch it, you're like, oh, it's Eric Idle. He also plays Sir Robin.
Yeah, it's a fantastic movie. I love that movie. You guys want to rate it?
I'm obviously going to give it... Is that a 5 or 10?
I give it a 10.
I give it a 10 out of 10. Obviously, it's my favorite movie.
I'll give it a good 8, but it's only because I haven't seen it since that one time, so...
That's fair.
Nice.
I understand. I concede.
I need to watch it again. It's been a couple years, so...
How long was that? 3 years ago?
That
was
was 3 years ago.
That was in 2017?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That sounds right.
Yeah,
And
I think it was.
I think
It was.
that day, Seb, we never got to watch your movie because we ran out of time, right?
know.
I've seen your movie.
Oh yeah,
But
I haven't still.
which is the
I'm
best
so sorry.
out of all three, but that's cool.
well, using that segue, Seb, why don't you talk about your
Anyway,
favorite
speaking
movie?
Which
of-
movie are we talking about?
Speaking of favorite movies, I have one too.
Really?
Whoa, yeah.
No way.
Do ya?
What do you call it?
I don't know.
Before we actually started the podcast, we were mentioning how it's hard sometimes for us to choose which of our favorite movies is in order.
Yeah.
Like for me, I mean, a lot of my favorite movies vary. So the one I'm going to say now usually is the one that I pick, but sometimes some other day I'll pick another movie. But for I guess I would say for this podcast and for many years, Charlie Chaplin's City Lights from 1931 is my favorite film.
Woohoo!
It's a
Definitely the oldest
every
one
time.
on this episode.
the oldest film we've talked about so far. Obviously, it is. Yes, you ingrates. It's a silent film. It's in black and white.
You ingrates.
It is in a. It's a 1.19.1 aspect ratio and everything. It's a total old school movie. But it's not the fact that it has all these gimmicks behind it. It's the story that's being told and the way it's being told, and I think it's wonderful. The first time I saw it, I didn't expect to be so blown away by it. We saw it in my film class at school. I obviously knew who Charlie Chaplin was. I had seen like videos on him on YouTube, and obviously that image of the tramp is such an iconic image, not just for movies, but in ever.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just, you see that, you know exactly who that is and what that is. And so when they said we were watching this movie called City Lights with Charlie Chaplin, I was like, oh, cool, finally a Charlie Chaplin movie. And so I expected the movie to be kind of just different scenes of him doing funny, how do I say it? Funny antics.
Yeah.
And while it's that, there's a point to all of it. It's still a coherent story. And it's not like it's just random nonsense
Which a lot
to
of the
be
movies
funny.
at that point were. Just like little, almost
Yeah.
like little
For sure.
sketches.
They were just like sketches, just a series of sketches. And I thought it was just going to be that. And no, it was a clear plot with a great story, characters that you care for, beginning, middle, and end. And probably my favorite ending to any movie ever. Probably my favorite character in any movie.
The Tramp?
And just probably, yeah. Or Norman Bates in Psycho.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. No,
Those
there's a lot of
those are very different
characters in
favorite
movies that I
characters, but equally great.
very
Norman.
different, very characters, but they're just so iconic. But
Norman Bates.
gosh, I mean, it's everything that I love in a movie. It has love. It's funny. It's classic. It's sad, and it doesn't have. I mean, without getting into spoilers or anything, it doesn't have the typical Hollywood ending or the happy ending that we think. It kind of leaves you up, and it kind of leaves up to the audience to interpret what could happen next.
I love
And
those kind of
The
films.
best part about it is that there's not a single word spoken. Yeah, you understand everything that's happening. There is a fantastic sequence in this movie where, because the film is basically about the tramp he's a tramp, obviously he's a homeless guy, falls in love with a flower girl who's blind. And he, and obviously since she's blind, she's unable to know that he's homeless and he's the way that he is. And so there's a sequence where he accidentally trips, or like he bumps into her, and one of her flowers falls over. He picks it up for her, and she's still on the floor kind of looking for it. And slowly he realizes, oh, she's blind. And he grabs her. She grabs him, grabs the flower and puts it into his pocket. And you see in his face him falling in love. And then a few seconds later, you see a rich man in the background walking into his car. He gets in his car and drives off. And the flower girl says, wait, you forgot your change. And then Chaplin sees this the entire time, realizes that the girl now thinks he's a rich man and just drove away. And he slowly backs up to stay in this act. And the best part about it is that it's all shown visually without a single word, and you get it. It's so simple, yet so effective. A movie from the 30s is able to really represent and visualize what is going on even better than the majority of movies today, which I think is like, and that's just like one scene out of like many great scenes in the movie.
I mean, Chaplin like utilized the language of film so well, both through his camera work and his performance.
Oh my God, yeah. Like, I think that's why people really shouldn't dismiss silent films at all. Because, I don't know, like, I feel like a lot of movies these days, like, don't get me wrong, I love a good story in a movie. A lot of people would just go to the movies to see a good story. But I feel like a narrative is just a means to justify the ends. Because we're watching a film. We're watching a story being told visually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you want just a good story, then go read a book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it's like going to an opera and complaining about the lack of story. And it's like, well, you're kind of missing out on what's important here. It's the singing. It's the performance. It's the fact that they're, well, like the way they look, the way they sound, the way they're performing. That's the point of the theater. That's the point of that art form. The point of film is to tell it visually, to look at it in the cinematography, the music. That's why, to me, it's my personal favorite art form. It's able to take every art form and combine it into one. Painting, music, costumes, everything. Photography, and that's what you use to make a movie. And so, to me, a lot of the best examples of it is in silent films, or at least in moments of silence during movies. Not to say that movies with words are bad. Of course not. A majority of movies, if anything, 90% of a lot of great movies are spoken.
Yeah.
I'm not like some hipster saying, oh, silent films are better. No, I'm just saying, personally, I I feel like the strength of filmmaking and the strength of visual storytelling are in those early films.
Yeah.
And
You're right.
we really should not deflect that or downgrade that or dismiss it because it's in black and white or because it's silent. I mean, that's how it started. And that's how it should be remembered, and that's how we should always see it as, you know? So.
Amen.
Okay, I'm good.
I think a lot of people would look at those silent films and think of them as like lesser than, you know, modern films because they're less advanced, they have less technology. But I think a silent film that can get its message across, that can have a really interesting and like engaging story like City Lights, is so much more impressive than a dialogue heavy film because they're doing everything visually. It's all in the camera work, it's all in the framing that the director chooses to frame his shots.
The performances.
It's all in the performances. Charlie Chaplin's
costumes.
performances nowadays would be considered, you know, overacting, like goofy, silly, gimmicky acting. But at that point, his performance was the sole thing getting the story across. And he's not using any words. He's not using any inflections in his voice. He's barely using facial expressions because, you know, it wasn't that clear of a picture and it's mostly wide shots. So he, like, through pure body language, he's getting across this character's like deepest motivations and ideas and emotions. It's really, really impressive. And I say that as a writer who's obsessed with very dialogue heavy stories and, you know, like Tarantino or like Aaron Sorkin style movies where it's like all in the dialogue, or like Baumbach style. But I can still appreciate Yeah, but I can still
And there's
appreciate
nothing wrong with that, of
Chaplin's,
course.
like, pure visual storytelling. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like I was saying, there's nothing wrong with dialogue-heavy movies. Are you kidding me? I mean, I love those movies or those writers or those creators that you just
Yeah,
mentioned.
Linklater is another great
and
example of that with the Before trilogy.
Exactly, like Linklater with the Before trilogy, how natural and realistic it feels. Baumbach, same thing with his naturalism and adding in comedy in real life dramatic sequences, or Aaron Sorkin. Aaron Sorkin and Tarantino are pretty similar in the sense of like it's heightened
it's
dialogue.
that elevated.
It's almost theatrical and rather, it's elevated as very movie.
Yeah, Baumbach and Linklater are more like impressive because they replicate life well, where Sorkin and Tarantino, you're impressed by their skill
it's a
of
very
utilizing the
stylized
language. Yeah.
Like
Their knowledge of the language.
Yeah, definitely. And it just sounds cool.
Yeah, it
you
just
know what I mean?
sounds
Like the snappy, fast.
it just sounds pretty
It's
cool.
it just sounds good, you know?
I wish we talked like that in real life. I wish I could think of phrases.
Exactly.
I
like
wish I could think of sentences that are that well thought out that fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, Paps, you haven't seen it.
I know. I'm so sorry.
I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to... no, it's okay. Hopefully I can show it to you someday. But like I said earlier, I had mentioned there are other films that sometimes take the place. Another one would be...
Yeah, what's your number 2 right now?
It could be any Damien Chazelle film. Whiplash, La La Land, either... I mean, don't get me wrong, I love First Man.
We should do an episode on that.
On Damien Chazelle?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Daddy Damien.
That'd be cool, too. He only has 3 movies, though, so we'd all have to, like, fight for one.
We can just talk about all 3.
True.
That's true, we can, yeah.
True.
Because you guys like La La Land, but Whiplash, girl.
Whiplash is my personal favorite from him, but I'm a huge La La Land defender.
But that'd be... I'm
La La
a La
Land for
La
me
Land
is like...
offender.
I know, so we can
Offender?
debate.
We can debate about La La Land.
We're writing this down. That's going to be a future episode at some point.
But I know
Damien
you like
Chazelle.
it, though, Paps.
I like it, but there are some issues. But we're not going to go into that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. No, for me, it was like at that point when I had watched it, all I wanted to do was insane, gory, Evil Dead-esque movies. Like freaking Evil Dead 2, Dead by... what is it? What's that Peter Jackson movie? Dead Alive.
Oh, like his first movie that he
all
did in
these
his
insane,
backyard with
yeah,
the
like
rocket
one
launchers?
of the first few movies.
I know what
Insane,
you're talking about, but I don't
gory
remember what
movie.
it's called.
Anyways, I had a sick twist. Don't get me wrong, it's still in there.
You still do.
I would still love to make a movie like that someday, but it's like that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to just make these messed up, nasty, filthy horror movies. And then I watched La La Land. What?
Nothing.
Okay.
You'll hear it in the playback.
And then I watched La La Land, and I was just like, kind of blown away that stories like this existed. And again, I'm sure a lot of people have seen the movie, but again, for those who haven't, that a film could end the way that it did.
Yeah.
I was just like completely blown away.
Yeah.
And just taken back.
I remember when that movie came out, talking to you about it, because I had been into musicals for a while, and like you had done a lot of musicals, but I remember you telling me like I didn't know that musicals could do that. Like I didn't know
and not
I
be
could
so
feel that
cliche.
way during a musical. Yeah, and I remember you getting super into classic musicals all of a sudden, like American in Paris and Umbrellas of Cherbourg and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I still love those movies. You kidding me? That's why now I kind of want to tell stories about human connection, human love, in a sort of heightened way.
Yeah.
Like La La Land or Umbrellas of Cherbourg, where it's presented like a silly, dumb, classic Hollywood movie, but the story, the actual in between, is a dramatic, realistic story of heartbreak and pain, and it's like, I don't know. To me, that's just So that's another one, and then if I am to choose another one, it would be Blade Runner 2049, which I don't think any of you guys have
Still
seen.
haven't seen that one, no.
That's another one where I watched and it just...
It sounds like I don't watch any movies. I do.
No.
I promise I have watched more than 4 movies.
Watched it
I swear. I've watched 6.
No, yeah, these guys have seen movies, just like probably not my movies, but that's fine.
I am looking forward to watching 2049 later this year before Dune comes out.
Who knows? Maybe we could
do it.
recommend it or something.
Yeah, maybe we could do a Denis Villeneuve episode. However, I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Denis. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Before Dune comes out, I see what you mean.
I'm so excited.
Dune looks incredible. Before we continue, Kolby, what would you give City Lights out of 10?
Oh, that's right. City Lights, I would say a 9, if not a 10 out of 10. It's been a while since I've seen it. I think when I saw it, I think I gave it like a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously it's a 10 for me. It's perfect in every way.
I'll let you know my rating.
Alex, we have now gotten my favorite movie and then Sebastian's 12 favorite movies.
On all 50 favorite movies of mine. Yeah.
Alex.
Okay, well, it's always hard. It's always hard for me to come up with a list of my favorite films because, like, I don't really see films. I don't know. I don't really rank films. I just say good, not good, you know? So
Alex's film class is pass-fail only.
For sure. But I'd say a constant of my favorite films would be Stand By Me, directed by Rob Reiner.
Rob Wiener.
If you've never seen it, it
sucks.
basically...
I'm just playing.
What?
No, go ahead. I'm kidding.
It's a film based on a novella by Stephen King called The Body, which is basically kind of based on his childhood and growing up in his hometown and what he would do with his friends and stuff. And yeah, if you know me, I really like Stephen King movies that are based on...
We don't know you, pal.
Who are you? Get out of our
This is the
podcast.
first time we've met, by the way, you guys.
What are you doing in my house?
I really like movies or films that are based on Stephen King novels, even if they're bad. I just really like Stephen King concepts and his stories. But, yeah, my first time watching Stand By Me, I think I was probably 11 or 12, which is kind of crazy because it's rated. It's a rated R film, but
It's rated R?
yeah, it's just because of the
it's
language.
like a bunch of 13-year-olds?
Yeah, it's just the language.
Oh,
I think.
didn't know that.
Yeah, and the dead body. So, but basically, what it's about these four
Spoilers.
boys who. Okay, that's like.
It's in like the first 10 minutes.
I know.
I'm messing around.
It's about these four boys that are all best friends, and they're a boy goes missing, and they go to find his body, and they go on their last little adventure in the summer before they go into junior high and kind of split up. But yeah, I think my first time watching it was when I was like 12 years old, and it's kind of been like a family favorite in a way. Like my grandma bought me the movie on DVD and said, "Alex, I really want you to watch this because when your uncle was young, when it came out, he really liked it, and like I feel like you would like it." That sounds so stupid, but yeah, so I watched it and I just remember being like, I think I was really into those kind of like coming of age movies like during that time because I was like kind of that age. So like this is so different, but like this...
You were coming of age.
No, but like I remember I had watched The Sandlot before, and so my grandma was like, "You'd like this movie, it's about kids." And I was like, "Oh, it's probably kind of like The Sandlot," you know, like I thought it was gonna be like a silly plot like about kids in the summer. And I watched it and I was just like, whoa, like it was kind of my first time being like, wow, like these kids are going through it and they're so young.
Just kind of touched by a movie and being like, whoa, that was different.
Yeah, and it was just like, it wasn't what I expected, and I remember crying at the end, and I'm like, wow, like, I've never been so, like, emotionally invested in a film, I guess, before I saw that, so I think that's why it kind of sticks with me, and, like, I don't know, throughout my whole life, my short life, it's just really stuck by me. Like, the characters are really likable, and they're all very, like, different, and they're kind of, in a way, cliche, like, not cliche, but, like, what's a way to say
I don't think so.
Well, I think that what's great about those four characters, is that they're all cliche in the sense that they fit archetypes, but then the story, like, breaks down each of those archetypes over the course, and by the end of it, like, you really understand each of their, like, little nuances, and so they no longer are just these archetypes. Like, you understand why they are that way.
Exactly.
They feel like actual kids.
Yeah.
And especially the fact that they swear and
Yeah.
they get mad at each other sometimes, and then they easily forgive each other. It feels very honest.
And it's
I love it.
very, like, obviously not going to see a dead body, but it's kind of, like, relatable, and I know a lot of people, like, say that when they talk about Stand By Me. They're like, that reminds me of how it was when I was a kid, you know? But it's not even just, like, what they're doing in the movie, but, like,
The way they are.
Yeah.
The way they interact.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
I get that.
Yeah, that's just my favorite.
Isn't that what's great, though? Like, you don't need to exactly experience what the character experiences. It's more of the way they are relates.
Exactly.
You can relate to them.
The most well-written movies, and especially coming-of-age movies, can be so unrelatable. Like, I have never gone on a 3-day or however long adventure with my friends, leaving home and sleeping in the woods to go dig up a dead body and then getting chased down by a gang of scary teenagers led by a guy that looks like 80s Ewan McGregor. But that's never happened to me. Yeah, that's never happened to me.
Sutherland.
But I watched Stand By Me and I'm like, yeah, that's so relatable.
Yeah.
Because of the nuances and the interactions that the kids have. Like, yeah, the best written movies can be so unrelatable, and yet you feel very connected to them.
Yeah.
Just invested and connected. I love it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the film, I don't think, since we watched it then. I think I saw it once after. Because I had seen it before. My mom showed it to me, and it was like, I didn't expect it to be that deep.
Yeah.
I thought it was just going to be kind of like, I don't know, like a 80s movie that people don't remember.
Exactly.
It was very much a deep, sad, yet relatable story of these kids doing what kids do.
Yeah.
Which is, they're just curious kids that want to investigate things. They want to go out. They want to be together. And we find out a lot about them on the way, which I love those kind of stories too, where you're kind of against a certain person in the beginning, and as you're watching, you're like, oh, maybe they're not so bad. And at the end, you're like, you flat out either love them or you're just like let's just say that they die. Like, I didn't think I was going to cry.
Yeah,
or something,
exactly.
Stuff like that. It was definitely one of those movies where it ended up being deeper than I thought it would be. And so when I watched it with you again, it's like, it makes sense why Paps loves this movie. Not only is River Phoenix a beautiful
Phoenix
human
is
being.
my favorite of all time.
Yeah, is he your favorite
Yes.
all-time actor?
I
know that's like a huge question.
Not like skill-wise, if that makes sense, but just like icon-wise.
Sure.
Like, he's just the most iconic in my mind.
I get that.
But
That's exactly how I feel about Jeff Goldblum.
He died. No, River Phoenix died at the ripe age of 23, so he didn't really have a lot of time to grow, but you can definitely see in his work that he was on his way up,
On the note of River Phoenix, the child performances in this movie are some of the best I've ever seen.
Yes.
I think when we watch movies, we just give kids in the movies a pass. Like, we don't judge them on the same level we would an adult actor, because, of course, that'd be super unfair. But in this movie, the kid actors totally hold their own with the adults. They're all really great. I mean, it's four of the greatest kid actors of all time. It's River Phoenix and Corey Feldman, and I don't know the names of the other two.
Will Wheaton and...
Will Wheaton.
What's his name?
Didn't the chunky kid grow up to be handsome?
Jerry O'Connell.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, he was like in Scream 2 or something.
Yeah.
And
Is he really? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
But
it's like, what's his name from Harry Potter?
Neville?
what's his name? Neville. Yeah. Neville had a glow up.
Glow up.
But I do think, like, a big credit for these kids' amazing performances goes to Rob Reiner. Who
No, that's why another reason
Such a good
is
director.
Rob Reiner
Yeah.
is just such a great director. And on the DVD of Stand By Me, they have, like, the whole, like, director's commentary or whatever.
Yeah.
And,
Rob
like,
Reiner.
he really worked those kids and, like, had, like, the training they did behind the scenes, like, leading up to, they had to, like, spend a lot of time together before shooting, and they did a lot of rehearsals and stuff and, like, improv games to, like, make them, like, truly closer, so it wouldn't just be, like, you know.
And it shows.
Yeah.
It really shows.
really shows.
And I just really appreciate, like, all of Rob Reiner's, like, super long takes in these films, like, where it's, like, kids talking. Like, there's that one...
And it's not flashy, too. It's not like, look at me, I'm doing a long take. It's just like...
it feels
letting
very
them be.
natural.
Yeah.
So all these,
Yeah.
like, different shots he does where... Right, like, in the movie after Teddy has, like, a breakdown, that shot is, like... That take is probably... I forgot how long it is, but it's, like, 3 minutes of just, like, straight... Just them walking, and, like... I mean, that's kind of hard for kids to do, like, a 3-minute scene, you know? That's that, like, deep and, like, has so much...
That emotionally taxing on an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Who's, like,
that's
12.
just really
Like-
impressive.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
have you guys read the story about how Rob Reiner directed the kids during the train sequence? Where they're running
Yes!
from the train? That's one of my
Yeah.
favorite director
Yeah.
stories ever.
He
where
screamed at
'cause
them.
They couldn't act it, like, intense enough. They weren't, they've never been in a situation like that. They don't have real fears to draw from.
Yeah.
And so Rob
Mhm.
Reiner screams at them and tells them, you guys are ruining everyone's day. It's hot.
Mhm.
Everyone's sweaty. People have families and kids they want to go home to, but they're stuck here because they're stuck here with you doing this scene.
Yeah.
The kids start bawling, and he turns to the
And he's like,
cinematographer
"Run,
and he
run,
goes,
run,
roll
go."
the cameras. Go. Yeah. And
Yeah, yeah.
it's one of those things
Freaking
where
crazy.
that makes him sound so mean. And in the moment, I'm sure they were thinking, oh god, Rob has turned evil on us. But, like, as far as I've seen, those actors have later said, I'm so glad he did that. Like, what an amazing
I know.
move as a director. And also, I feel like those kids have said a lot of things about, or as they've grown up, like, Rob really was like a dad to us when we were filming.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of them came from
So
really,
I think
really
that's why they
negative
cried that
households.
much, because
Yeah.
it's like when your dad yells at you,
Yeah.
especially when you were younger, it's just because, your dad is someone that you look up to, someone you love, and so for him to yell at you, it's heartbreaking, obviously. So it makes sense as to why they reacted that way, and it's not more of a act of, like, him being mean, but more of just getting the right performance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And Rob Reiner mentioned, like, when I watched the interview of him talking about that, he was saying, I kept thinking if I pushed them too hard, but it was definitely worth it. And at the very end, it's like they had forgotten that I yelled at them, and they just came up and ran up to me and, like, Rob, did you see me crying?
Hugged
Did you
him.
see it? I did it. Like,
Oh,
that's where they really
That's
have that,
adorable.
like,
That's great.
dad relationship
awesome.
with him. So,
I love that.
yeah. Just the whole production of, like, how they got those... what am I saying? How they got that emotion in all the different scenes is, like, really impressive, so... Yeah.
Do we have anything else to say about the movie?
Ratings out of 10?
10 out of 10.
I think I'd give it a 9.
I think I'd give it a 9 as well. Yeah.
It's good.
I remember, what do you call it? The soundtrack was also really
Oh,
great.
yeah, I
Yes.
forgot to
It
mention.
takes place in the 50s, right?
The soundtrack is, like, perfect. And, like...
Yeah, I remember when we watched it at She Whom Would Not Be Named because of copyright house. Kolby pointed it out. I was like, oh, this is a great soundtrack.
Yeah, the
Because
soundtrack...
Rockin' Robin was playing at some point. right?
Rockin'
And he was like-
Robin! Oh, man!
he started to dance.
And that was
all the
definitely
rap and
during
everything.
my 50s rockabilly music phase, so I was probably being really annoying about it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this song was actually Chubby Checker or something. Like,
Yes, you said it exactly like that. He took off his shirt and everything. It was insane.
that did not happen.
All right, that's cool. We can ask he, she, who would not be named.
One funny anecdote I have to bring up before we close this out is that on that day, after we finished watching all these movies at that person's house, me and Alex went back to my house, and we were looking for something to do, and we watched Year One. And that was one of the weirdest contrasts I've ever had in my life. Like, on the same day, we watched Monty Python, City Lights, Pride and Prejudice, Stand By Me, and then Year One, like the Jack Black and Michael Cera movie. That was
That's a 10 out of 10 film.
I don't think we got all the way through it.
No, remember the DVD
I haven't seen that movie.
broke.
Yeah. The weirdest part was we watched it because I had it on DVD. I don't know why I had it. I didn't buy it. My mom didn't buy it. My dad didn't buy it. I don't know where it came from.
And the DVD
it just appeared in my house.
Halfway through, and we're like,
it just appeared.
Yeah. It was like a cursed... Oh, man, that was weird. It's probably dug up in the woods somewhere.
Terrifying.
That was very cryptic.
So...
Good Lord.
I'm glad we got to talk about all our
more,
movies. And if you're still listening to this, thank you.
If you're somehow still here, thank you. If you're somehow survived.
Still here, what are you doing with your life? Go to your children.
Yeah.
Hey, people are in quarantine right now.
What are you doing?
That's true.
They have nothing better to do.
Don't you have anything better to do?
That's why we're doing this.
Exactly. So, on that note, what have you guys been watching recently? Do you have any recommendations? No?
No, because I didn't. Yeah, no, yeah. I finally watched Sam Raimi's Evil Dead 2.
Ooh.
And it's a masterpiece. I loved it from the very beginning. It's literally... Like, there's no pause in the movie. Like, after 6 minutes... From 6 minutes in to all the way to the end... Nonstop. Gore, insanity... Looney Tunes, Three Stooges... Crazy, fun house thrill ride. And it's awesome. And I love it. And I can't wait to see it again. I recommend it really badly.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet, but it's one that's been on my watch list for a long time that I've been wanting to watch.
Hopefully we can like talk about it in like a Halloween episode or something.
Yes.
That would be awesome. Yeah, favorite horror movies. That'd be great.
Yeah. But yeah, it's perfect. I love it.
What about you?
The last movie I watched was last night. I watched The Hateful Eight because I'm on a mission to watch all the Tarantino movies I haven't seen yet, so I can say I've seen his whole filmography. The only one I have left now is Death Proof.
Same.
And then I want to rewatch a few, like Kill Bill 2 and Pulp Fiction. But I watched Hateful Eight for the first time. I had very mixed feelings on it. Overall, I liked it.
Nice.
But I was pretty confused with a lot of elements of it. And so I came out of it going, well, now I need to watch the extended version. So that was kind of unsatisfying. Also, I just feel like I'm very obsessed with like watching conditions. Like when I watch a movie, I turn off all the lights in the room. I close all the doors, close all the windows.
Me too.
Like I have the sound quality all the way up. Like I make sure everything's perfect. And it really bugs me when stuff goes wrong. Last night, I'm literally at the very moment of climax of the movie. Like the music, Ennio Morricone's amazing score, is building up to this great suspense strike. And then before that strike can hit, the Wi-Fi in my house dies very abruptly.
No.
So I was watching it on Netflix. Netflix pauses. Netflix, like, I won't pull up anything.
Were you talking about the coffee scene?
No, it was well, it would be a big spoiler, but it was
another scene.
I guess I'll say the hanging scene. Yeah.
Great scene.
Yeah, so that was a huge bummer. It took me like 20 minutes to get the Wi-Fi back, and then
and then you watched
the last couple minutes of the movie after that. But yeah, Hateful Eight was solid. I also, immediately after that, finished watching The Tiger King.
Me
which
too.
is the most insane and weird documentary. It's so whack.
It's so entertaining.
It just escalates. It's really entertaining. It's so fun to watch these fascinatingly insane and insanely fascinating people just be so bad.
Just be
so
fascinatingly
awful.
And
insane.
the scandals.
Yeah, they're all every person in that show is deeply unethical.
Oh yeah, like you feel like you want to go on this person's side, and then they do something insane, and you're like, never mind. And then they're like, okay, this person's cool. Oh, just kidding.
You can't pick a side.
No, you can't. You can only just sit back and watch these weirdos.
Justice for Joe, though.
Towards the end, though, I was leaning towards Joe Exotic.
Joe Exotic all the way.
Sort of.
I was leaning towards him until what goes down in the last couple episodes, and then I go, oh. He's fun and he's eccentric, but I don't think he's
everyone's a hypocrite
any better of a
on that
person
show.
than these others.
That's all we can say.
Everyone's
a hypocrite.
I don't think he did what he did, though. Not to spoil anything, but I don't think he did what he did. I really don't think he did.
Okay.
I think maybe we can disagree on that, but I really don't think he did what he did.
I don't know.
What I have heard is that now they're reopening a lot of these cases. The police are those states are reopening a lot of these cold cases that the show touches on, like stuff with Carol Baskin and Joe Exotic. So maybe we'll get some answers pretty soon. That'll be interesting.
That actually would be really great.
Maybe. Alex, what have you been watching lately?
Tiger King. I finished. That's pretty much it for this week. I mean, I've rewatched Raiders of the Lost Ark. I've rewatched it.
Perfect
I rewatched The Lost World, Jurassic Park.
Very underrated movie.
And I haven't seen it probably in like 5 years, so it was definitely not as good as I remember. But still love it. Love Jeff Goldblum as the lead. Love it. Love Jurassic Park, but yeah, the gymnastics part.
It's pretty dumb.
So I haven't seen The Lost World, but I saw your Letterboxd review, and you were talking about a gymnastics part, and I'm really confused but intrigued.
You need
now.
to watch
Tell me. I want to go into this movie blind and watch Jeff Goldblum do gymnastics with the T-Rex.
It's a good little. It's a good one.
It's the dumbest scene in the movie.
It's directed by Spielberg, isn't it?
It is.
Unlike
I don't
the other
hate
ones?
it.
Okay, cool.
But
interesting.
No, everybody hates it. I mean, it's not the first movie, but it's not bad. Like, there's still Steven Spielberg's great direction behind it. Real quick, I also saw Bombshell and it sucked.
I liked it.
Do not watch it.
But I think
I'm happy you did, but I sucked.
Keep up with Megyn Kelly.
Probably. No, it's just no.
You
Don't watch it.
You can't say that she didn't do a great job acting Megyn Kelly.
I'm not saying
perfect.
she didn't. I'm saying the movie itself was bad.
Kate McKinnon.
And directed by Jay Roach, the director of Austin Powers, which is super weird.
Of Austin Powers? What?
Yes, the director of Austin Powers.
And it shows.
Which hopefully is a trilogy we can talk about in another episode because I love Austin Powers.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening if you made it this far. Follow me at Alex Paepke. That's AlexPaepke. You can search me on YouTube. I have some really mediocre short films on there.
I think they're great.
They're really
Colby,
mediocre.
go ahead and plug.
You can find me at Kolby Lipiz. That's KolbyLipiz on YouTube, where I have a few short films as well, and on Letterboxd. I also have a Twitter account where I talk about movies called Wannabe Filmmaker.
For me, you can find me at Instagram and Twitter at Seb_A_Limon, Limon. I also make YouTube videos under Abdel Entertainment. They're really bad, but
great.
I would love
They're
and
so
appreciate
good.
subscribers and views.
Sebastian has made
They're
two
alright.
short films in the last week or so. Totally made at home during all this quarantine stuff. Really clever and impressively written to be practical
Appreciate
with the
it.
times. I love them. I love them both. They're great.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I don't have a cameo in it, but something I did has a cameo in it. I don't know how to explain that.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. And I love you. And find us on Letterboxd at Seb Limon and other stuff.
It'll be in the description.
Oh yeah. Thank you guys for being alive.
Next week, we're going to be talking about the new movie Onward. And with that, we're going to bring our favorite Pixar films to the table and have a little discussion about them. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Adios.